My first 24 hours of traveling to Japan was a little bit of a disaster, to say the least. In this video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know from planning your trip, preparing for your trip, all the way to what you should do once you land in Japan. First things first, pre-departure checklist. There's two airports that you can fly into if you're planning on landing in Tokyo. First is Haneda, the other is Narita. Haneda is a lot closer to Tokyo, whereas Narita is further out. So if the prices aren't that big of a difference, my recommendation is to book your flights to arrive in Haneda Airport, and for your departures, you can leave from Narita Airport. If you're traveling from the US, a visa is not required. You're visa exempt. The only thing you need to bring is your passport. I'll include a link below for you to check visa requirements for the country you're traveling from. Make sure that your passport is still valid for at least 6 months upon your arrival in Japan. That is very important, or you might run into a situation where you could land in Japan and not be able to enter, or you could get turned away once you're at the airport. So before you book your ticket, before you do anything, make sure that your passport is not going to expire within 6 months of your planned arrival in Japan. If you do need a visa, I'll include a link below on how to apply for an e-visa. It's pretty straightforward. You'll receive a visa that allows you to stay for up to 90 days in Japan. As of 2023, you no longer need to show proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test, but just make sure you check the Japan travel website for the most up-to-date information on entry requirements. Face masks in Japan has been a thing way before COVID was a thing. While it's not mandatory, it's very common amongst locals to wear face masks when in crowded places or public transportation. Any medications with stimulants such as pseudoephedrine or codeine are prohibited from Japan. So if you're looking for Sudafed, you won't be able to find that there. Just ask the local pharmacist there and they'll point you to a good alternative. You can use a translation app to help you communicate with the pharmacist there if they don't speak English. Japan uses the same outlets as the US and Canada, so you don't have to worry about bringing a travel adapter. But if some of your plugs require a 3-prong outlet, make sure you bring a travel adapter. Other than that, you're all set. Although a lot of big stores, restaurants accept credit cards, it's good to have some cash handy, especially if you're gonna explore temples and any shrines, street vendors. Make sure you have enough cash on you at all times, just in case. You can either bring cash with you and exchange in Japan, or the most convenient way is to go to any 7-Eleven ATMs to pull out cash. Check your bank to see if there's a conversion fee or not. So it's really up to you, but having some cash on hand in case of emergencies or in case your cards get declined, call your bank and notify them that you'll be out of the country so that you don't run into a situation where your bank locks your card thinking that it's a fraud charge. So make sure you call your bank, notify them that you're going overseas, check to see if there is a foreign exchange fee, and bring some emergency cash just in case. Phones. If you're planning on getting an eSIM or a SIM while you're in Japan, make sure that your phones are unlocked. If not, you can just buy a portable Wi-Fi device and pick it up at the airport in Japan once you arrive. It's about this big that you can carry in your bag. Depending on which one you get, the most basic one you can connect up to 5 devices. If you are planning on using an eSIM, you can use our Air Allo code for an extra $3 off your first purchase. Not sponsored, but we love Air Allo. Don't have to carry an extra device with you. It's convenient. It's fast. You'll have data for as long as your data is active, and you can re-up if you need more data. But the only thing is you just have to make sure that your phone's unlocked. If you made it this far and found this video helpful, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more videos.
Now back to the show.
If you have an iPhone, add the Suica card to your Apple Wallet. It's super easy. You just go to your wallet app, search for Japan, and you should see Suica. You'll be able to add the Suica card to your Apple Wallet. You do have to load 1,000 yen. Visa cards won't work, and you can use the Suica card for trains. You can use this to pay at the convenience stores. You can use it at the vending machines. It's super convenient to have. If you don't have an iPhone and you have an Android, unless it's bought specifically from Japan, you won't be able to add the Suica card into your Android wallet, but that's okay because once you're in Japan, you can get a physical Suica or Pasmo card. And if you're wondering what's the difference between the Suica card, the Pasmo card, the ICOCA card, the answer is nothing. There's no difference between the three. The only difference is where you get them. If you're at a JR line, you can get a Suica card. If you're at a non-JR station like the Quaikyu, the Kiku, the Ki KEU at the KQ, then you'll get a Pasmo card. If you're landing in Osaka, you'll get a ICOCA card. So it just depends on where you are at the time, you'll get a different card. For their uses, they're all interchangeable. It really doesn't matter which card you get. When we went, the Suica and Pasmo cards were no longer available due to shortage, but we were able to get the Pasmo passport card, which is around 2,000, which includes a 500 yen deposit for the card, but the rest of that you can use it for using public transit or at the convenience store, and you can reload it at the train stations. The only thing is that they're only valid for 30 days. So just be mindful of the amount of money that you're adding into it. Once those 30 days are gone, you won't be able to get your money back. If you're thinking of whether or not you should be getting a JR pass, the short answer is no.
No, God! No, God, please, no!
In the past year, the JR Pass has gone through a significant price increase. So personally, I don't think it's worth it, but you can use the Japan Rail Pass calculator to put in all the places you want to visit during your trip. And then it'll tell you whether or not the JR Pass will be worth it or not. For our 2-week trip, we only wanted to visit Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka. So for us, it's not worth it to get the JR Pass. It's up to you what you're planning on doing, where you're planning on going. I'll include the link below. I think it's a very useful website to use. Accommodations. 2 things to consider when booking accommodations. 1, make sure it's in an area where it's near public transportation. That is so important. So you can just walk from your hotel to the train station and then commute to where you need to go to explore. The second thing is just make sure it's in a centralized location. So it's in a centered location where you're not too far away from the main attractions that you want to explore, or it's not too far away from the city, especially if it's your first time visiting Japan. A lot of people will tell you to book accommodations way in advance. It's up to you and your preferences on when you want to book. When we were traveling with our group of friends, we booked our accommodations about a month or so in advance. But when it was just the 2 of us, we booked our accommodations the day of, literally 2 hours before we arrived. And we didn't run into any issues. If there's a specific place that you want to book at, there's a specific area you want to stay at, I do recommend you to book in advance because the accommodations in the area that you want might not be available if you don't book in advance. You can either book in advance if you want or be like us and book the day of. You won't run into any issues. With Airbnb, a lot of hosts would mark down prices of their accommodations. You can find discounted prices on Airbnb. That's why we always stuck to booking accommodations the day of or the day before. 1, because we travel without plans, and 2, we're saving money. Jet lag. You probably don't want to waste any time in Japan because you want to explore everything. You have a long list of things that you want to see, a list of places you want to explore. You don't want to waste any time sleeping when you could be exploring. Download this app called Time Shifter. This is a science-based app designed to adjust your circadian rhythm. It will give you a plan and schedule for you to follow so that by the time you arrive at your destination, you won't feel jet lagged at all. And this is not sponsored at all. I just found this app because one day I was just curious if there were any apps out there made for jet lag. Time Shifter was the first app that popped up, so I decided to give it a try for our trip to Japan. You can plan it out for your first trip for free. All you need to do is put in your arrival and departure date, your flight numbers, answer some basic questions like what time do you usually go to bed, what time do you get up, if you're an early bird or if you're a night owl. After you answer those questions, the app will generate a schedule for you on how to slowly transition to the time zone of the place you're traveling to. I followed the plan all the way through, and I can now tell you with confidence through my own personal experience, this app works. If you're looking for a foolproof method to beat jet lag, download Time Shifter. It is life-changing. If you're worried about what to pack, how much to pack, don't. I'm telling you from personal experience, if you could, don't pack anything at all. Go to Japan with empty suitcases. You're going to end up buying more than what you planned. Think about what you're planning on getting and all the things you could get in Japan and times that by 3 because that's what you're going to end up doing. I ended up only packing 3 outfits for our 2-week trip, and I actually felt that I overpacked. I fully intended on coming back from Japan with a full wardrobe, new makeup, skincare, and snacks. So I packed ultra light and still felt that I overpacked. Whatever you didn't pack, you'll find it in Japan. And honestly, it'll be of higher quality and cheaper. The only thing that was essential for packing for Japan is comfortable shoes. And if you don't have comfortable shoes, that's okay. You can still buy some in Japan. For us especially, we don't pack a lot at all. We never check bags and we never carry suitcases. Japan was one of those places where we wish we had more space, more luggage to carry things back. All in all, a good rule of thumb is less is more. Now moving on to your in-flight checklist. 30 minutes before you land in Japan, the flight attendants will hand out 2 forms you have to fill out upon your arrival. You can choose to either fill those forms and go through customs that way, or the other option, for a much quicker and paperless option, you can fill out the form on Visit Japan web, and I'll include the link below. You do have to make an account in order to fill this form. So based on your preference, if you want to make an account, do this online ahead of time. One thing with filling out the online form is it'll give you a QR code, and that will allow you to get through the customs line a lot quicker than if you went through the paper route. You have to put in your personal information like your address, where you'll be staying in Japan, the phone number of the place you're staying in Japan. You need your passport information. Make sure you fill it out at least 6 hours before your arrival, and you'll get a QR code. Another thing with this website is you can also fill out the form to get a tax-free QR code. That way you won't have to show your passport whenever you're making tax-free purchases. However, with that said, it is actually required in Japan for you to have your passport with you at all times. We never ran into any issues, but if you do run into a situation where you got stopped and questioned and you don't have your passport on you, you can actually get arrested or fined up to 100,000 yen for not having your passport on you. But it's always better to not have to take out your passport for every time you make a purchase. With this tax-free QR code, you can just show the QR code whenever you're checking out, and they can just scan that rather than you having to take out your passport every time and risk losing it. So now that you landed, what do you do? If you're landing in Haneda, most international flights will land in Terminal 3. Once you're off the plane, follow the signs for arrivals. It'll lead you to where you need to go to get through customs, get your bags if you checked any bags. They'll check your temperature to make sure you don't have a fever. I landed at 5 a.m. in the morning, so there wasn't a line, and I was able to get through customs with the QR code generated from the Visit Japan website within 5 minutes. Next is either go to a 7-Eleven ATM, which is located right at the airport, or pick up your portable Wi-Fi device if you bought one. If you feel overwhelmed once you arrive, there's so many signs available to point you in the right direction. Just follow the signs and you'll be fine. If you run into a situation where the Suica card or the Pasmo card is not available and you don't have an iPhone to add the Suica card to your Apple Wallet, you can just go up to one of the kiosks at the station and buy a physical train ticket. One thing to note is keep that train ticket, because you'll have to insert it again in order to leave the train station. Same thing if you have a physical card or a card on your Apple Wallet. You have to tap your card in order to get in the station and take the train, and you have to tap your card again to leave the station. You can use Google Maps to find directions from the airport to where you need to go. If you watch my 10 must-have apps for traveling to Japan, you'll understand why Google Maps is the app I recommend for navigation in Japan. So make sure you check that video out before your trip. So that is everything you need to know before you arrive in Japan. If you have any questions or want to share your experience about your trip, comment below. I would love to hear it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.
See you.